glad I prepared.
Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to today we're talking about, does your brand pass the smell test? So listen, most of y'all probably don't, but that's okay unless you've been rebranded by us. But no, so we are going to be talking a lot today just about overall, like what are some things that you can do and think through. We have our little questions here that we think you can ask yourself basically about your brand as a whole. And I want to be clear, branding is more than just your logo or your van wrap.
Correct.
A lot of y'all love two things. You love a van wrap and you love a yard sign. And so many times you base, like, does your brand look good and feel good off of those two things? When really at the end of the day, we need to be talking about how you overall make people feel. So I'm Crystal Williams.
And I'm Emily Flanagan.
And so we are Lemon Seed Marketing. And so we love to help companies have a brand forward method for how they go to market with their messaging, how they organize their structure their tactics and all those good things. But one of the core pieces that we love to look at is their brand and how important it is to the overall success of their company.
And the best brands are ones that are authentic. And that's why we're calling this the smell test, because it's beyond just your visualization, beyond just does this logo or this truck wrap or this yard sign look good. People can smell, they can smell it out when something is inauthentic. And so that's why we're calling this the smell test, because people will sniff it out if you're not being true and authentic. And so our job is to help you create authentic brands, tell good stories, build things that people can remember and resonate with, have an emotional connection to before you ever win their pocketbook.
Absolutely. And if you're not watching the chat right now, we want you to tell us where you're watching from, if you love your brand and what services you offer, anything like that, so that we love to use our actual attendees as examples when we can. So we're going to be going through about 15 or 20 questions that we think are good questions to ask yourself about your brand. So the very first one that I like to say is, could you even clarify what your brand is in a sentence statement? So listen, we had to work through this for Lemon Seed ourselves.
Sure.
But, basically, if your team gives like 5 different answers on who you are as a company, that definitely is not a good sign.
No, correct. Like that shows that there's an unclear vision, an unclear mission, an unclear statement in who you actually are, what you represent, the services you actually offer. And easier said than done. Like Crystal said, we have actively been going through this exercise the past couple of months. How can we streamline this? And it's so easy where we know what we do. Contractors, you know what you do, you know who you are, but the trickiest part is how can you convey that to everyone else and in a simplified manner that's not overly complex.
Yeah, and I see that we have some of our friends that are they actually own service businesses. This brand smell test is not just for home services.
Anybody.
Okay? This is for anyone in any service. It does not matter. At the end of the day, you should be able to clearly explain who you are as a company in one good statement, right? Your elevator pitch. And so when I train community marketers to take over the community ambassador role for home service companies, the first thing is you have got to get down your pitch of who we are. Because remember, I'm a walking person. So yes, I can have my logo on my shirt or I can drive up in a company car. But when I stand up in a room full of people and have to talk about who I am, I need to have that elevator pitch. So you would pass the smell test if it was simple, repeatable, and if you are confident in it. So that's my first little tool there of how you could kind of ask yourself or ask some of your team members, who is Lemon Seed or who is Crystal's Heating and Air? And you're going to watch their face be shocked at first. Until you're a culture company that's really pushing who you are, they will struggle to give you an answer.
And you've got to talk about it often. You can't be like, well, we went over it that one time in the Monday morning meeting,
when
6 months ago.
In 2023.
Yeah. You signed your paper that said you knew it. No, it has to be, you get what you reiterate. And so this does have to be reiterated numerous times. So it is ingrained. It is a part. One thing we do at Lemon Seed is almost every Monday morning meeting, we are going over our core values to where sometimes we'll talk to contract and we're like, do you have core values? And they're like, oh yeah, like we wrote it down somewhere. Let me find that. We're like,
it's in our handbook.
Almost every single team member, I would venture to say probably all of them, could tell you what our core values are for Lemon Seed.
Yeah.
We will be zesty. We will be zealous for creativity. We will be experts in strategy. We will be servant-minded advocates. We will be thorough and timely, and we will be yielding results. We could say we didn't have any paper here in
No.
front of us or anything, and our team can too.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, I think it gives them such good, like, they'll even be like, "Hey, I feel like I'm not being a servant-minded advocate,"
Mhm.
or, "I know I haven't been very thorough or timely, so, this is not yielding results," and so it leads us into number 2, like, do you know exactly who you are and who you are not? And
Mm.
so who your ideal person is. So this is where people get real twisted up about mascots and no mascots, if you ask me. At the end of the day, they want to have something that is cool and creative, that is approachable, but it doesn't feel like them. So they're like, well, but this is not me. So there is a vibe that you have to catch: authenticity and original, like, creativity.
Mhm.
And so I use this sometimes to, when I try to explain to people, you are probably not your own target audience.
Correct.
Okay. So Emily and I, now listen, we can do what we want to do, and so can y'all, because y'all run these things, right? You run your own companies. But Emily and I, if y'all would leave it up to us, we'd be having charcuterie boards for all of the men that come to our Live and See conference. But instead, we're like, we probably should have man food.
And costume parties for everything.
And men hate to dress up. But you know what we do? We roll with it because it's a good mixture of authentically who we are
Mhm.
as a company, which is creative, and we like to push people to think outside the box and all those good things. But we also have a male dominated audience. Our ideal avatar, because of the sheer amount of men, is men. That is who owns the majority of heating and air conditioning companies. And while I love to collect, if I like, followers that are women, that's wonderful. And you have to be honest with yourself of, like, our brand needs to reflect the kind of customers that we want. So when we're talking to home service contractors, y'all are the opposite problem. Y'all are a lot of dudes. Now there's some good women on here. Deborah Jenkins is running great, doing great things there in Tulsa. But a lot of the women are doing a great job at this. But men, we have to remember that women
Mhm.
are the majority of the decision makers. So what are they attracted to? Friendly, creative,
Approachable.
approachable
Yes.
things. So we have clients all the time. They're like, I want a spear and a Spartan man. And I'm like, okay, so this is very intimidating.
We're gonna beat you to death. Like,
Yeah.
you will buy
But
this
but
from
we don't
us.
want a dog, or we don't want, and I'm
Everyone
like,
does a dog.
okay,
Yeah.
listen, yes, we get it. But at the same time, if you can take a step back for a minute and think about your brand, is it approachable? If you have a fun environment and vibe, is your logo represent that? So visually, but also editorially. So how you write your post on social media,
Mhm.
how your newsletters come across, if you're standing up and speaking to chambers of commerces and stuff, does all of this go together? If your CSR goes, thank you for calling Yellow Bear Air, how can I help you? Or do you have someone that's like, it's a great day at Yellow Bear Air? Which one of those match?
Mhm.
That's your comprehensive brand, not just what your van wrap looks like. And so, you pass when you can describe your ideal homeowner without hesitation.
And I would even venture to say, like how we said, like, and who you're not for. That's another piece that I think a lot of people will forget. They're like, I'm here for everybody. And I've heard people say that, like, well, I don't want to wrap my trucks because then people think I'm expensive.
Okay, listen, if y'all are still with us, praise the Lord.
You gotta love technology.
Yes, so
Trying to go
sorry.
live, internet just cut out for no good reason.
So we're gonna jump back in it. So thank y'all for being with us. So sorry. Yeah. So it's Thursday. You know what? It is Thursday. One more day right of
We're
it.
just
So
trying to get to the weekend of love.
I know, I
Valentine's
know,
Day.
I
But
know. So we are talking about your brand promise. That's where I was next. So your brand promise. Hi, Wendy. Yes, we're back. Thank you so much. But your brand promise actually being delivered in the field. So again, this is the problem. Compare your marketing claims versus real customer reviews. So are you saying that you are quick, you're on time, you're fast
you're
service?
reliable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're budget friendly. Now, listen, not my jam, okay? Because when you say budget friendly, I think a lot of you attract people that are going to actually be looking for a cheap option.
Price
And
shopping.
most of
Yes.
you are not, if you're brand new, you have to be a little bit more competitive, right? I think everybody would agree with that. When you're brand new and just getting started, you have to be more competitive, a little bit more lower price a lot of times, just to kind of get yourself going, and then you can slowly but surely start increasing. But your brand promise is what you are going to lean into. So it's got to match, right? The two have to match. So one day I was like, oh, I asked a client, I was like, tell me about your brand. He's like, well, we are the most affordable company in town. And I'm like, okay, so that is great. He goes, but we keep getting beat by people that are offering other things and we're still cheaper. So I was like, the problem is we're not building any value.
Right. And there's no loyalty or appreciation for you, the company, and the level of service that you provide. All it comes down to at the end of the day is price. And that's not the most important to everyone. People
Yeah,
might think that is, but they're like, no, I want to trust that you're actually going to show up when you say, because I had to leave my office. I had to get my kids taken care of.
Yeah.
You said you're going to be here in this 1 hour window, 2 hour window. I want you to actually be there. The reliability is a huge factor of it. Are you going to be around in 10 years when I'm looking to check up on my warranty or need a new system replaced? Are you still going to be around?
Yeah, I mean, they care about more than, I mean, we oftentimes don't choose the lowest person for our own companies and our own things. There are times, like pest control companies, I think, have a little bit more of a struggle with this. You want to talk about what people really don't want to deal with is a rat, like rats and stuff. And so they're like, oh my gosh, it's $300 for y'all to come out here and fix this rat. And we're like, yes, but we're coming right now. We're going to kill it. We're going to remove whatever we got to do. Don't blame me for killing rats, whatever we're going to kill. Roaches.
I thank you for killing rats and roaches. Okay.
So, but this brand promise, like, is your marketing and what you're saying matching what people are saying about you online? And listen, pro tip here, as AI engines are growing, they are looking for user generated content. So your reviews, the more you can get them to talk about your service and your reviews, the more you're going to be the AI recommendation, right? So that is a whole connection of things. And so we don't have to get crazy with that statement, but it does help to make sure you're getting reviews, make sure those reviews are good, but then spot checking yourself to make sure you would pass the smell test if your reviews reinforce what you do, not contradict what you do.
100%. And it builds a lot more trust, because what you're saying, your actual customers are saying, so like, that must be true. Not like you're trying to pull something over on somebody. Your customers are verifying that. So that trust level and that opportunity for loyalism increases drastically when that happens.
Absolutely. So the next one is, are your values visible or just framed on a wall? So we hit on this earlier, right? So the smell test is, can customers feel your values without reading them? So here's a couple things. Now remember, we're from the Bible Belt here in East Texas. But when a funeral procession is going down the road, I will push you off the road with my car
if you are not pulling
if
over.
you are not pulled over.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe this is a thing. If you're not from the South, tell me, when funeral processions are going down the road, are you supposed to, if you're not in the funeral procession, pull over on the side of the road?
Yes, you
So
are.
there is a competitor to ours that I know, McWilliams, my family's company, that I know is a good company. There's no doubt. They are a fantastic company, good family, do great things. But one of their drivers did not pull over and drove right alongside a funeral procession in East Texas. And I was like, what is happening? Before we knew it, on social media, they were blown up. And people were coming to their rescue a little bit of, like, defending them. But I was like, there is no heating and air conditioning catastrophe that you needed to be, no, even if you didn't, even if you don't want to be respectful to a funeral, you still would not, you're driving a billboard.
Correct.
So what
Yes.
do you think made people feel? Well, that company, they say that they're people first. They're not people first.
They don't care.
They
Yeah.
don't care about me. My grandma died and she's in this hearse. And now you have literally in that one little silly decision, it contradicted who you really want to be. And so there's other examples of those things, like when people are popping off on social media. If you're an owner, prepare yourself, because I'm probably about to hurt your feelings. If you're a ranter and you have no control over your emotions, getting a 5-star review, or you get a 1-star review, and you lose your mind, you lose credibility. So popping off and being an instigator and a pot stirrer, people associate that with your business.
100%. And sometimes I think people continue to be pot stirrers, especially popping off on social, because you'll get other social media like, yeah, you tell them, and like, yeah, you just tell them like it is. I appreciate that. Da, da, da. But the real people, the respectful people that you are going down and down and down on their list, they're the ones not saying anything. So like sometimes you have your smell tester is off because you think that everyone is loving and appreciating, but also it's the other jagaloons that are just feeding into this cycle.
Jagaloon's a trademark lemon seed word.
Invented by Crystal that now has been repeated by everyone at Lemon Seed.
Yeah.
But sometimes people can get on a high, I think, in that. I'm like, hey, look at what is the only common denominator here? You, the ranter. You are not doing everyone a favor by telling everyone what everyone else thinks. No, like it's so. And a lot of people aren't going to tell you. They're just going to like be immediately turned off and disassociate
Well,
from
and the
you.
same thing goes for your brand messaging of how you approach sales calls. That's right, Michelle. No drama llamas, right? No drama llamas, but how you approach sales calls. So if you walk in and your technician breathes out real heavy and puts a pin in their ear and goes, well, this one's going to cost you. This is going to cost you. That's not a good brand experience.
Right.
That's not a good customer experience. So now your brand is categorized as overly salesy. They sell you stuff you don't need. And right now, people are very cognizant of their environment. Okay. So they're cognizant, we've gotten smarter, right? So bait and switch is this big terminology right now. And people, you should be getting multiple bids and things like that. That has become like, as homeowners become more educated and they have access to more tools through social media and through online, it is no longer where you can get away with that like you used to could get away with. People, they didn't have anywhere to go to talk about it. But now if your brand is going to be, you don't want to be the pushy, overpriced, oversalesy guy. I don't think.
Yeah.
So there is a fine line of teaching technicians how to speak and build value in your services and how to scare them that they need a new unit. So then their adult child gets mad and says, you tricked my mom into buying a unit. You got to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
There's too many places for people to go live with that. So I would say here, the smell test is, do they feel your values? Because your guy did an extra step. He cleaned up after himself. Your CSRs were happy to walk a customer through something. What happened that they felt your values? And you pass it when it shows up in all aspects of your business, your tone, your services, the way you follow up, and your behavior.
The way you present yourself, all those things. That's a real brand.
Yeah. And then go ask your tech. This is another one. Ask your technicians and then ask your CSR to describe the brand the way that you do. And see what they say. So if we went to our graphic design department and said, describe Lemon Seed, and then we go to our strategic department and say, describe Lemon Seed, we're probably going to get a different answer. But at the end of the day, they should all come together because they have different aspects, they have different perspectives.
Yeah, they should be able to all hit on the high points.
Right.
There might be some small idiosyncrasies that might be from a different point of view, but like we should be able to get the core down and the thing unified. Yes.
Your CSR has a different experience than your installers. Okay. But I will tell you this, installers are where you can really win over clients when they are communicative. So, again, in East Texas, we used to have install crews that were scared of their own shadow. So they didn't want to speak to, they were great workers, but speaking was not their jam. They didn't want to have to talk to a homeowner. And so building up their confidence to be able to say, hi, Miss Williams, we're so excited to be here. Thank you for choosing McWilliams, blah, 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 all those things. It matches the tone of the vibe that you were putting off on social media and your CSRs, and you send a technician and then a comfort advisor, and then they hit this install crew. That vibe needs to be carried all the way throughout. So I think you pass when you ask all of your employees to describe the brand the same way you do, you would pass the smell test again when you have alignment from them without having to coach them through it. Right.
Right. Or be prompted about it.
So now let's get to the logo part.
Yeah,
Your-
the
your
visual
favorite
identity.
part.
Yeah,
The visual identity.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but that's where my personal skill probably comes in most and stuff because
I think audit visually is where you start.
Sure. You eat with your eyes first, okay? And same thing. People are making judgments and assumptions about your company based off what they see before they ever actually call your CSR, things like that.
Now, where you have a good point though is that could be a technician. So what does the technician look like when he gets out of the van? So there's some things that your technician is pumping gas and they look like they got 2 cigarettes and a backwards ball cap and an untucked shirt and pookie all over their pants.
Shotgun boots, again, that's another South term, but yeah. So do your logos, your colors, your fonts, do they feel intentional or do they feel accidental? Okay. We come across brands all the time where it is very accidental. So like, hey, tell me about your logo. Like where'd this come? Well, I was getting started and, I needed some business cards. So, I went down to Office Depot and, the girl working that shift today, that's what she came up with.
They made me this.
Yep. And so we just stuck with it, and I'm like,
for 20 years.
Sure. So like there's zero intentionality in that. And bless that print shop worker who isn't coming at this from a strategic standpoint, who isn't keeping in mind who your target demographic is, who your ideal avatar is, who your competitors are, and how you do not want to blend into them. Like, oh yeah, you're heating and cooling. Like we can do a sunshine and a snowflake. How about how about red and blue for hot and cold? Hot and cold. Imagine that.
For your roofing company, you know what we should put in the logo?
A roof
line.
Whoa.
It is very normal. It's so normal. It happens literally every day. And it's not that necessarily makes it a bad logo, but it definitely doesn't help it stand out.
No, you for sure blend in. Lupita and I were at RoofCon a few weeks ago, and we were trying to count the number of logos that we saw that did not have a roof peak. And I don't think we got more than 2. I'm like, I could not remember a single, like trying to stand out in that sea of all those other roofing contractors. They all seemed the same. They all had similar names, similar logos. There was nothing that I could hold on to like make you rise to the top for me. But so a good brand will have intentionality behind it. Okay. It will be intentional to have a font that is very distinct, that is standoutable, that looks custom and manipulated, that someone else can't just type that in Microsoft Word and get our logo by typing out our name.
Helvetica.
You're just proud another font name than
I am
Comic Sans or Papyrus. Crystal likes Papyrus, mainly to annoy me, I think. But colors, like we're working with a company right now and they have a million different shades of green. There is no unified. They're like, sometimes it's bright and lime. Sometimes it's like forest. Sometimes it's like Kelly. Here's this Kelly shirt that we got, but there's no unification. And I want to say, like, when I say the word Tiffany blue to you guys, a color comes to your mind and it is the same color and you will never see a knockoff version. If you do, then it's a fake. So like that consistency and that intentionality to have it documented, to have your exact color codes, that can carry you out a long ways and again build trust, because it's not this like are these the same people? They kind of look the same but like not really. Is this authentic? They can smell that out when it's not true. So if things look dated, cluttered, DIY, we get a lot of brands that look very
well, again,
DIY.
The guy, somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to go start my own business," and to start the LLC, they had to have a name.
So I'll use my last name.
Williams Heating and Air Conditioning. And then they're like, "Well, I need a business card. What can you do?" We're going to put a snowflake and a thermometer on here.
Yep.
And so then we look at it. So there's no originality. So I was talking to a client the other day, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love this character that you have." And he's like, "Yeah, I have no connection to the character."
How unfortunate.
When I was like, I'm sorry, but I was like, okay, so what do you do with it? He's like, I don't do much with it because I don't really have a connection to it. And I was almost sad for him because I was like, first of all, it's a good character. It's a cool character. And unfortunately for him, he'd like gone all in with it. So I was like, now we need to go backwards, and I'm going to use this word, but fabricate some authenticity
to tell a story.
Because listen, you all know marketing is one of the most hated parts of running a business. it feels expensive, it feels out of control, it feels like wasted dollars, and then you feel like it's marketing. Marketing takes the blame when you have no leads, but none of the glory when you're killing it.
Mhm.
And that's just like the life that marketers live. You really don't like to love us, you love to hate us, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, But at the end of the day, I tell people marketing is about finding joy in who you are as a company, and meaning like leaning into the mascot, leaning
Mhm.
into the color, leaning into the font, whatever makes you cool, and owning it. And so you have to have something that energizes those thoughts in you. So the other day when I was talking to him, I was like, listen, we can bring this mascot to life. We're going to give him a name. We're going to give him a purpose. Let's name your community support. Well, do you do community support? And he was like, yeah, I do lots I love kids baseball. So
Okay.
I was like, this bird does not match baseball, but we're going to put a bat in its hand and we're going to say, knock it out of the park or whatever. And this can be like how you support. And all of us, literally, I watched this man come back to life on the screen because he was all like, it's fine. But really, he had visually a very well designed brand. Zero connection to it. So now he felt like he was just spending money and not doing it. So the smell test, I think, to Emily's point, is does it look dated and cluttered and DIY? And the answer may be no, and you can pass it, but you have to lean into is there something to it that gives you energy to keep going? So lemon seed, at the end of the day, I tell this story all the time. I am yellow. Literally, we were talking last time. I blend into the backdrop with my blonde hair, my light fair. I'm so fair complected. And then Emily, like, why does Emily look so much better on camera? I'm like, well, her hair's darker. We literally were talking through this. And I was like, why did we choose yellow? We chose yellow because yellow had teeth to it.
Sure. I mean, sometimes I'll tell people, and this will surprise them. I was like, fun fact, like yellow used to be my least favorite color. Like you can ask my best friend, yellow was her favorite. I said, do not put me in a yellow bridesmaid dress. Like I will not wear it, and she didn't, bless her heart. But
and now we're like, cheers.
yes,
cheers.
no, but we did it with intentionality because like we knew it was going to stand out. We knew it was disruptive. It was unexpected in this space, in the sea of grays and blacks and red and blue. Yellow was unexpected, and it was authentic to us because we knew we were going to be bright and fresh. We knew our ideas, our services, our personalities were going to be bright and fresh. People, we go to a trade show, and what do people know us for?
There's the girls in yellow.
The yellow. And they're like, it stands out amongst all this stuff. And so there was intentionality behind it. It didn't just haphazardly, we were all of a sudden named lemon seed and this yellow color.
But I do
appeared.
get asked all the time. And we started from discovering who we were and who we wanted to be. And it led into, and then I'll be honest, if you learn one thing about me today, I trust the experts. So once we got to a place of what we liked, I was like, no, go for it, because I knew that visually Emily can bring it to life. But I will tell you, we are rebranding lots of clients right now. And they get hung up innocently. Now, listen, we went through the same thing. You innocently get hung up on little bitty details like, well, the shoulder, the sleeve is rolled once, and we really only wear ours unrolled. And I'm like, yeah, so no one cares. You care way more. But what it does is it gives them paralysis by analysis.
Sure, it has drug on and on and on. And I'll say this often: perfectionism is really procrastination in disguise.
Amen.
So, like, hey, this sleeve is not perfect, so like we can't move forward. We can't move.
Pause the whole thing.
In reality, we have wasted months in doing this. I'm like, what impact could we have been having if we'd have just, hey, maybe the sleeve roll isn't perfect, but like it's still great and fantastic. But perfectionism is really just procrastination.
Or let me take it back to the team and go show 30 people. I'm like, you're barely going to get 3 people to agree with you.
You want to kill something great and amazing? Take it to a committee.
Tell the truth.
I mean, committees are there to play it safe. Like, how can we avoid all risk? How can we play it safe? And that is the quickest way to kill a great idea, to do something disruptive, to do something that's going to stand out, is asking too many dang people.
And speaking of standing out, we do a competitive analysis, because one of it is, does your brand stand out in a line of competitors? That's another test for you to take. And you say, like, put your logo next to 5 competitors, and can you spot yours fast? When we do this, because we do this as a part of our strategic intensive, is a competitive analysis, both for branding and ongoing services. But when you bring it up, literally you watch their face. When they see their logo lined up with others, they're like, oh, because someone's pops out like a sore thumb, but in a good way. And most of the time, it's not people coming to us, right? And so we always work them through like, this can be you. We are going to find a place for you to stand out. In a sea of vans that all look like kidnappers, we can help you stand out and have a really cool piece.
And it's also like you're getting bad advice if you're asking your own dang team members and your own family, who of course they know and recognize your own logo more because like they wear those shirts every day. They live that. So like we're not, no, mine stands out more than the others. No, you ask the people that are naturally just drawn to, because that's where they freaking work.
Or this is my favorite. Everyone knows us by this. I'm like, what's your last name? So probably. But again, y'all, honestly, the problem is you have to really get out of your own head.
Mhm.
We had one particular client, it just stuck with me, that basically on the sales call, when I'm talking about what it's like to rebrand with Lemon Seed, he's like, at the end of the day, can I just tell you, I'm going to do your discovery call because I want to talk through like some of my ideas, but I want y'all to tell me what is going to look good in the market. I would love for y'all to tell me, I want to see my 3 options and I'm going to pick one of those 3. And he did. And there was minor modifications, but at the end of the day, he wasn't like, well, really, my cousin Joe, he is an AI graphic designer. And you're like, okay, sir, like this, it just, again, it gets out of control. So making sure that your brand stands out, like you would pass the smell test if you lined all of your vans up together of all the competition in your market, whose stands out?
There's no way it could possibly even get slightly remotely confused with someone else.
Correct. And then next is everything aligned, consistent. So this is what Lemon Seed like prides ourselves on for our clients is what we need to look the same is we want your trucks, your uniforms, your website, your social media, your billboards, your direct mail, all of that needs to be on brand.
That's where you can get that like compounding interest, if you will, that brand, like, man, y'all are everywhere. Okay. But when it's so disjointed, people can't make the connect. They can't build on top of each other. You've got all these other little silos now. You're not building upon it.
Yeah. And it really, it's a little bit of confusion too. So you may not feel so, but I want to remind you of something. So much, the vast majority of your potential clients are not ready to use your services every day. So all you can rely on is that every time they see and experience your brand, a social media post, a community piece where you donate fans to veterans, right? Every place they see you and interact with your brand, you are building up recognition and top of mind awareness. Because then 2 years from now, when they walk in their house on a summer day and they're like, I can't breathe. Oh my gosh, I've got to go call Yellow Bear Ear. I got to go call them. They don't go to the internet and start Googling who are all my options. We want them to have no other name stuck in their head. This is how I learned that this worked. When I was at McWilliams, there's, again, several great companies in our market, okay? But we are a little bit more rural. So I would go to Chamber of Commerce, our functions, as the community ambassador, right? And one day I was like, yeah, well, you've probably heard of my family's company. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, who else does heating and air conditioning here? Well, you know me, I got in my car like, yes. Okay, because it did teach me like branding freaking works.
Yeah.
But it's not so easy to measure. So if some of you are very tangible, like you want to see the 1-for-1 ROI correspondence, you're going to hate marketing because that's not what it is. It's a combination of all of these things, right? It's everything together, to Emily's point, that equals success. So to me, you have to measure your overall marketing and branding as a whole package to see if it grew your brand.
And branding is an investment. It is, I'm not gonna lie, it is expensive to do it and to do it well, but it is that foundational piece that will make you spend less money on marketing in the long haul. So like she said, like you want people to know, they don't even know another name. They Google search you directly. If they don't already have that because you haven't already invested in a brand that you've been laying little tick marks, little needles in the haystack this whole time for them, you're just having to duke it out in Google. And who spent more on the Google ads and the PPC, that's who's getting the lead now. Versus if you will invest in that brand in the beginning, you won't have to duke it out all the time because they're searching for you directly.
Yeah, and it's kind of like running a marathon, right? So you got to start somewhere. So you just start doing very intentional things. Social media is a great place to start. That's the most affordable way. And it's cheap on money, not cheap on time. So which one do you want, right? And the investment in branding might be high, but the cost of not doing it is much greater
Yes.
than the
Yes.
investment of getting started. We're Brandapalooza, y'all know, is our theme for the whole month of February. And Emily and I have interviewed several of our clients, just as part of our, getting the message out there. And so many of them, when I say, what's one piece of advice that you would give contractors? I wish I would have done it sooner.
Mhm.
I wish I would have done it 5 years ago, 3 years ago, when I got started. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Mhm.
And so we're on a mission. We want people to know. So the other thing is, does your brand feel like the price that you charge? So I use this analogy for our own team. So I'm like, listen, when you get on a call with one of our clients, if you look like you just came rolled out of the bed, hair wet from a shower, no makeup on, glasses and a sweatshirt that's all up here
A
and a cup of
hoodie.
coffee,
Yes.
like, hey guys, how is everyone? They don't want to pay for that.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay for that. So if your technician rolls up or your plumber rolls up, and when they open their car, like 2 Chick-fil-A cups fall out, they put their cigarette out and they
Hey,
walk up.
Chick-fil-A's bougie. No, I'm kidding.
But they walk to the door. I mean, and they don't have a good smell. They don't, all of those things. And then they're like, ma'am, actually, it's going to be $20,000 for us to replace this system. And they're like, excuse me, like, y'all
Yeah.
look like y'all charge somebody $5. So I
Right.
don't really get it.
Yes.
One example I have of this is New Orleans during COVID. You had to go get to eat in a restaurant in New Orleans during 2021. You had to have your COVID vaccine card with you. Okay. And I got cracked up because the girl that was traveling with me didn't have her COVID vaccination. So I walk up there and I'm like, hey, so I'm going to get her some food and we're going to sit over here. And they were like, no, you can't be out in our lobby area if you don't have your COVID vaccination. So I wanted to be like, New Orleans, I stepped over 3 homeless people sitting in their own pee. So while I appreciate the effort, I need to understand why we've got conflicting messages here, right? We care about your safety and health, but don't worry about the vomit and the pee that's right outside the door. So again, you might want to pressure wash the front porch before you push this part in. So if you're charging more, things have to look like that. They have to feel luxurious and look luxurious to drive luxurious pricing.
Because I do believe the majority of our contractors are here watching this and stuff. They do have a premium service and they have things that make them worth the value that they charge. Yes. But when you look DIY, when you look homemade, they expect your pricing to match that as well too. And so that's where you can get a lot of that price objection of like, but you look like a chuck in a truck. You look like just a guy. Why do you? And so sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to appear expensive, but no, do you want to appear premium? Like you're worth the value that you are actually bringing. It's actually authentic and represents the value that you do provide.
So I laugh a little bit. My grandmother told me this story one time when I got ready to go buy. Now my grandmother's 86, I think, years old. So when I got ready to go buy a vehicle one day, she's like, "Don't you be wearing those fancy clothes. Don't you wear those fancy clothes up there. They're gonna think you have money. You don't have money. Don't make them think you have money. Don't drive." And so that kind of has set with me too over times of like, when I'm going in to negotiate a price of something, it's not the day to drive up in a Lamborghini. I don't drive a Lamborghini. I drive a Jeep Cherokee. Okay. But that's not the day to roll up in your Lamborghini unless you're trying to like catch a vibe of being that. But it is true. It is true that the entire brand experience has to reflect high-end things. So your CSR should answer on time and be educated and have upbeat and know how to answer things.
Solution oriented.
I listened to a client's calls the other day and they were like, "Thank you for calling, blah, 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 Yellow Bear Air." And the guy was like, "Yeah, can someone come out? I live in a mobile home. Can someone come out and give me a quote?" And she goes, "Hold on just a minute." I'm already irritated. Okay. Hold on just a minute. And then she says, "Can I have your number and we'll have somebody call you back?" And in my mind, I'm like, what's the problem? Do you service mobile homes or not? Or does she need to ask more clarifying question? Why is your CSR handcuffed by this one question? And you're it isn't like you're in the middle of downtown New York. We're like, trailer house. What's a trailer house?
We've never heard of that before.
Like, y'all are in East Texas. Like trailer house. It's a half trailer house.
Half the people we know live in one.
Come on, girl. Like, and so, but what it taught me is that now that customer experience is broken a little bit because now they're like, oh gosh, these people don't know anything. And honestly, who really they think doesn't know anything? The CSR. When you as the owner have handcuffed her to not be able to have some autonomy to answer and list all of these things. And so again, that is a part of making your brand feel expensive, if you will, and match your pricing. How it looks, how it feels, how people talk.
It just validates you more. It just seems more authentic, legit. It's
When I even
validated.
got to where, as when I was trying to protect our brand, I even got to where what we supported in the community, I made sure that those nonprofits were legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
So, if it was somebody's fly by night, I'm raising money for veterans, like y'all should support the veterans. I'm like, well, let's talk for a minute, because I couldn't afford for our name to be attached to somebody that's in tax fraud with a nonprofit.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
know?
Or, you got your logo on their banner right next to each other to where, it's not a good look.
Because you know what it is? It's you're guilty by association. So you need to recognize where you are inserting your brand into your community. You now are associated with that. So it's important that you do that.
Yeah.
And then down here, it goes to what we just mentioned is that another question, does your phone experience match your marketing experience? So is there a professional? Are they professional? Are they rushing people? Or is the phone call just unpolished in general? And how you know that you passed the smell test is call your own company.
That can hurt your feelings sometimes.
Try not to do it in front of a large room. But if you've never listened to your own calls, it'll make you do two things: drink, okay? But also it will open your eyes. Once you get over the pure shock, okay, you will start recognizing holes in your operations and things that they don't know. Should they know it? Probably. What we think is common sense is not common sense. But Emily mentioned this earlier. This is why we go over the Lemon Seed core values on our company meetings very consistently, because your team needs to understand why is it important that their phone experience match every other piece of the customer journey. So, hey, the reason that I'm getting on to you today is because you rushed this client off the phone. You did not listen. You failed to gather information, which required us to call them back. That's not the experience we want for them to have with us. And it just impacts your brand experience.
Now, and I'll bring up maybe a touchy subject. We didn't plan to talk on this, but AI call centers are such a hot topic right now in the market. And, can they have their flaws? Yes. But can you make them more consistent to where it's not like your girl who answered, she had a bad day. So that's the experience that every other customer is going to get. And like, did it actually get answered on time? Yes. So call centers, AI can bring some benefits to that so that you can have a more consistent customer experience.
Yeah, and so I love to say this. I love a human touch. I'm a human touch kind of girl. Okay, I think that's important. But I will say this, if your brand position is that you are speedy and fast and you take care of people, and then you implement an AI source to help alleviate customer wait times. So instead of hiring a whole nother CSR, you implement an AI strategy, or it's your rollover, or it's your after hours or weekend. You can then say, well, Miss Williams, I'm so sorry that you had to interact with our AI tool. We promise urgency and speed. Therefore, that was one of the quickest ways we could get you taken care of. But if you are antiquated and you go out on every service call and then you're like, yeah, that robot that answers the phone, it doesn't match your brand story anyway. I get real conflicted. Because sometimes I see people launching AI agents and I'm like, this is super cool. So don't get me wrong, it's super cool, but you don't even have a website.
Yeah.
That works, that functions. You're not investing at all in training your existing CSR. So is the world trying to make you go to AI? Everything can save you money, save you overhead, be more profitable? Yes. But there is something about that human touch.
Sure. But both have to be done with intentionality because both can go drastically wrong. Okay. Yes, you could have an actual human, but if it's not trained, if she's cranky that day, it's a very inconsistent, that can have its flaws too. So everything, whether you're doing AI, humans, whatever, branded, no branded, whatever, it has to be done with intentionality for it to make any impact.
Same tone, same level of care for sure. And then number 11 is your tone consistent everywhere? So this is quick. We actually do this before we do a prep before any of our sales calls. And this is what I'm going to go look for: your website, your van wraps, your social media. If I can find like an email or anything about your brand, because listen, all it takes is a Google photo search, image search, and I can see a lot of things. And I can tell right then how on brand people are. Because there's rattle off the box, their social media rarely matches their website.
Yep.
Just sometimes different logos. I'm like, did you used to be? And they're like, yeah, but I haven't changed it.
All right. Oh yeah, I forgot that was up over there. You know.
Or we'll say, oh, okay, so you do water heaters. No. Okay, sir, it's right here.
You have a whole page for water heaters.
Water heater. And they're like, oh, yeah, we don't do plumbing. And I'm like, okay, it also says garbage disposal. What are we doing? Okay, so you see, so if you just go look at your tone and your messaging across your different platforms, and again, those of you that maybe are not a home service company owner yet, but you have like a vendor company like Lemon Season, go do the same thing. Go look at your website, your own socials, your own emails, and make sure that that messaging is same across the board. So you pass that smell test when you have one voice on many channels. And honestly, it's harder than it looks to make sure that everything's aligned because lots of moving pieces, but just be intentional about checking those things out.
Yeah.
And so
takes us right to number 12. Do you control the first impression, or does it just happen by chance? So again, if you are not taking control with tremendous intentionality, with tremendous consistency, it will happen by chance. Okay. Like sometimes we win and sometimes we don't. But when you will grab a hold of it, go in and do the hard things. Like I'm going to call myself to see how it actually sounds. I'm going to go dig around on my website to see what other nonsense is on there, things like that. I'm going to actually give some time and attention to training my people, to making an actual, this is how we answer this. This is how we approach these difficult conversations. This is how we do this. That takes you controlling the first impression, the second impression, the third impression. You can control the whole situation. If you're not, it is happening by chance.
Yep, absolutely. And listen, you can define your brand, or it'll define itself for you.
Same with your culture.
That's right.
You know.
So is trust built before the technician arrives? Is another smell test.
Yes.
So do homeowners know who is coming, why they can trust them? Have they seen a photo, or they have been given verbal? Like, Miss Williams, I'm excited. I'm going to be sending Chris out to your home today. He will be in a spot-on pest control truck. He's going to walk around the entire perimeter of your house and start spraying. He's going to park on the street. But if you need him for any reason, just let him know. Or do you want us to come to the door? So now I'm like, okay, a spot-on truck, especially if we're elderly.
Yes.
We don't.
They need
There's
to
a
know.
man
Yes.
in the backyard. I done called the police. Okay,
Yeah.
like, or they let your dog out by accident and it gets ran over in the street. Like terrible things. But your brand, if you are like, no, yes, ma'am, we're going to be there. Number one, even if they don't care. So even if you get the Crystal and Emily's of the world, like, we don't care what you're doing, just go spray them for the bugs in our house. We don't care. We love to know. At the end of the day, we are like, okay, yeah. So then when my camera notification goes off and says, oh, pest control's at my house, I'm like, yep. Oh, that's Chris. So again, they're just little drops of brand recognition. Like, oh, that's Chris. I didn't know that was Chris. I've seen Chris on social media.
Yep.
All of those things roll through my head. And now when people say, who does your pest control? It's this guy named Chris.
Yeah.
From Spot On Pest Control. Like, and y'all, all they did was tell them that on the call.
Well, and the CSRs can have tremendous of like, you're going to love Chris. Like, he is so good. He's been with us for a long time. He's one of our most thorough technicians. He is really going to take great care of your home.
People are just like, oh, I love Chris.
Oh, I got the best. I got the best.
Yes.
And then that's where they like, oh yeah, I have seen him on social media. Oh yeah, he's my guy.
Yes, yes. And at the air conditioning company, so you get up to like 20 technicians and stuff, and when they are employee of the month, people are like, that's my guy. And you're like, ma'am, you listen, we dispatch for profit. You just accidentally got him, but sure, yay. We're excited for that. So trust is built, though. CSRs, y'all underestimate the power of a CSR. I can tell you right now.
Yes.
You underestimate that and how they reflect your brand. Y'all underestimate it. So invest in it. There's lots of good options for CSR training, CSR Academy. Michelle was on this webinar with us, and she also has Pink Collars. Like, those are great companies that really understand the power of a brand going into the power of the CSR. So some great choices there. And then does your follow-up, this is going to hurt y'all's feelings, I can tell you right now, feel branded. So I'm going to call follow-up, let's call it a thank you. So someone buys a $20,000 system from you. Does your presentation look nice? Does your team look nice? Does your text messages look nice? What does it look like after the tech has been to my home? Or the plumber's been to my house? So is everything reflective of my company? So your invoices, your thank you text, if you're putting a yard sign up there, is your guy making sure that it's like stuck in the ground good and looks good? I talked to a client yesterday. I thought this was interesting. They give the homeowner a $10 discount if they can put a yard sign in their yard for a week. And then after the week, you can throw it away. But they also incentivize the technician for every yard sign that they place and upload a picture, they get $5. And he's like, some of these guys will have a $200 like yard sign spiff. And I'm like, listen, I promise you something. If you've never explored The power of a freaking yard sign. $15 is for that thing to be in someone's yard for a week is chump change.
And you can get them way even cheaper than that, like, for sure,
Well, he's like, I buy 10,000 at a time. I'm like,
Oh,
okay. So
okay.
they're like -2. They pay you to buy 10,000. Okay.
Got that bulk discount.
Yeah. So I'm over here like, we're going to buy 100 and there's like $5 or $6 a piece, but you can do some cool stuff with those.
No, a tremendous, well worth your spend. And just with a little bit of intentionality, spiffing your guys in some ways, or the customer, can really help it gain some momentum and some traction.
Yeah, and so let's finish up here with our last couple of ones. And so I loved the other one artist is like, does your actual marketing content that you are putting out, is it on brand, and does it build authority in the space? This is still very applicable for AI, but are you building authority? Listen, Lemon Seed ourselves, you're watching our content strategy right now in real life. Okay. Our strategy is Emily and I can talk like this in our office, or we can come in here and talk to y'all. Okay. Because we talk about this stuff all the time. We just decided we would be more intentional about, let's do a webinar about it. Listen, there may be 3 people that show up or 2 people that listen to a podcast episode, but we're still putting out the content because content builds authority. The more people that can hear us talk and hear us understand like where our passions are, it just draws people in. They like, I love y'all. I've been watching y'all for years, or I see y'all for years. That is not unique to Lemon Seed. If you're a home service company, a plumber, a pest control, roofer, HVAC, if you will just talk about your product and your brand, it builds you up as the go-to expert.
For sure. And, I know you've said this before, and I said this in a class I was teaching the other day, but like, you gotta be like the Little Mermaid. Okay. Like, I want to be where the people are. And so it's not just like we have this one channel, this one tactic of how we are giving our marketing message. It's like, no, we are very intentional of like, okay, we're going to do this social media live. We're going to do a webinar with this partner. We're going to do a podcast. It's going to go on this platform, this platform, this platform. And then this is what we're going to do on social media. It takes a very layered approach, but again, we're just trying to be where the people are, and we try around at different times. Again, we've got to be nimble so that we can be meeting where our people are, so that we can fill that space to more people than just like, this is what we want to do. We don't want to explore all those other things.
Absolutely.
So it's with great intentionality. And so home service contractors have that ability as well too.
And you don't have to be a superstar. Just be like, you know what, guys, I'm out here this morning and I'm watching my plumbers get ready for a big install at an apartment complex, or we're headed over to a new construction, or these are our guys getting ready. As you can see here, they're calibrating their tools. But the more authentic it is, the better it is. I mean, Emily and I, honestly, we don't even overly prepare for these anymore because we want our raw personalities. Now, we're not scared, okay, to talk either, but we're remotely prepared of what we're going to talk about, but it's so natural and authentic to what we do that we don't have to overly prepare.
And we know what we do. Like we are concentrated and focused on what we do, who we serve, things like that, to where we can reiterate it and reiterate and reiterate it. We might give it a different title, but like we're saying the same thing. I heard Alex Hormozy is like, you're just gonna have to get over, like, you sound like the same thing. It's like Dave Ramsey has the exact same message: spend less than you make. You get married, spend less than you make. You get divorced, spend less than you make. You
get a new job,
spend less than you make. You win the lottery, spend less than you make.
Yeah.
So there's all these different packages you could title it to, but at the end of the day, that is the core. And so Lemon Seed, this is our core. Home service companies building marketing strategy and great brands that stand out. That is what we do. And so we talk about that, just that, all the time.
Yes. So before I give the last 2, which I think are the 2 most important, we would love to give a free brand analysis. So if you're like, I want to know what y'all think about my brand, Emily and I would love to take a look at a few of them. Drop your email in the chat here, or you can email us at hello@lemonseedmarketing.com and say, hey, I want a free brand analysis. Emily or I or one of our design team will go take a look at it and just give you some feedback.
No strings attached.
Yeah, no strings attached. Just if you're like, I don't know, is this good? What is your recommendation? And some of y'all will be good. We are not going to tell you you're not good for the sake of telling you.
And some of y'all, we've had this, like, I have this idea.
Yes.
But I don't know, like, should I do it or should I not? Like, shoot it over. Like,
yeah,
we'll tell you. Like, that'd be fantastic. Like, well, might should consider something like this.
I'll tell y'all this one thing. I had a client one time that had a word burn in their name. And one day he's like, I have this idea and I want to know what you public relations think of it. And I said, okay.
I know where the story's going.
And he said, I want to do a hot sauce challenge. So I was like, okay, burn hot sauce. Okay, that sounds good. And he goes, well, it's called cuss word, the bed. So I was like, excuse me? I'm sorry. And he said, yeah, that's the name of the hot sauce. So I was like, so, okay, first of all, no. Unless
Sounds
terrible.
disgusting.
I was
Yes.
like, so as a woman, number one, I'm kind of offended.
Turned off. Yes.
Okay. And the second thing is, ew. Okay. And then the third thing is, it's really given me, I made zero connection to that. Right. So now if you line your technicians up and they're going to do a hot sauce challenge, I'm down for that, but not one that's called that. Now, again, maybe my Jesus is too strong right there.
But this customer was in the South.
And I was
Like,
like, sir, no, you're an hour and a half from us. Absolutely not. But you see now, like, so a good idea, but it sparked other ideas.
sure.
But I
Just
mean,
need to be polished a little bit.
I'm
So,
like, my PR brain was losing my mind over that. So,
but
okay,
sometimes y'all do have ideas, and we'd love to give an analysis on it.
expound on them.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So last two. Here's the tricky part, and this might hurt some of y'all's feelings, but here's our smell test for this one. Do your employees feel proud to wear your logo?
Mm.
And so let me get my words. Are they prideful that they're getting to wear that logo and excited that they're getting to wear that logo? Or are they slightly embarrassed? Or honestly, is it so mute that they don't even care?
Right.
Like who cares?
It's just a shirt.
Because let me tell you, every time we rebrand a company, we always encourage them like, hey, when you show your team this new logo, give them a piece of swag, a pair of socks, a cool hat, a hoodie, a pullover, a t-shirt, something. And they always say, when we came out with those t-shirts, our team lost their mind. They were so excited.
Yes.
And they're like, you want to know another? Here's a little pro tip. Give one to their wife or husband. Hey, I got you one and I got your spouse one. And then they're like, oh my gosh, you want to go the extra mile? And we have kid sizes. Now you've got entire families walking around like they're walking billboards for you. Now, here's one of my cons. Well, it's going to end up in Goodwill. It might, but you got all the juice out of it at the beginning. Right?
Sure.
We got all the juice out of it at the beginning. So,
well, and it builds that culture aspect with beyond just your own team member, but with their employees. And like sometimes you need that buy-in and that the family knows like, hey, my spouse is appreciated. They work for a great company. So like when they're working 12, 14 hours a day in the summer, they have a little bit more grace and empathy because like they know they're making a difference and an impact because they work for a great company that they're appreciated.
absolutely.
So like if buying a t-shirt will help make your own employees' life a little bit easier, happy at work, happy at home, you'll be happy at work. Buy the freaking t-shirt.
Buy the t-shirts, friends. But okay, last one. Does your brand reflect who you are today or who you were 5 years ago? And for some of y'all, 20 years ago.
A lot of y'all 20 years ago.
And again, I think it's just like the irritation of changing your brand.
Sure.
Because, Emily and I talked about changing banks one time, and both of us were like,
no thanks.
Gross. But we love the idea of it. But one of our friends kind of works for a bank, and she was like, oh, no, I guide y'all through the process. I'm like, oh, okay, that's better. I don't want to be figuring out what bill's about to come out and like, I'm going to close an account, and then we look like we don't have no money. Like, I'm not trying to do that. But for us, I think one of the biggest differences that I find in talking to contractors all the time that are interviewing different people for brands, Lemon Seed has a very comprehensive approach to helping clients rebrand, because the scariest part, to me, there's two parts. Emotionally deciding what your new look's going to be. It's emotional. Whether you're an anxious person or an excited person, it's still emotional, right? Whether you're like ramped up and ready to go or you're a little apprehensive, it's just par for the course. But the second half of that is like, you actually have to be able to do something with it.
Right.
So again, yesterday or the day before, I took a sales call and he was like, I got a beautiful brand. I didn't do anything with it. I've had it for 18 months.
It's been sitting on this folder on my computer.
And I'm like, this is terrible. Right? Because of just like fear and anxiety of what to do. And so like Lemon Seed, part of our brand packages is once the graphic design team has developed this thing and you've chosen it, our strategic team comes in and says, this is how we're going to go to market. This is how we're going to take it and implement it. And it's not just like go wrap your vans. We're talking about community involvement and all these cool things. But the smell test here is, did your brand evolve and grow with your business?
In today's times.
And I think 5 years is kind of a good time when you at least need to look back. So even if you paid a lot and had a great brand 5 years ago, look at it now and see, is there any little modifications that I need to make? Maybe I chose a trendy color from 2005. And now I'm like, this color's not very trendy anymore. And you can update the color too. You don't have to go from green to maybe you just update the green, you update the font, you change the shape. There's cool things you can do.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even like changing the whole logo. It could be just like modifying like this background pattern that we've been using on some social media backgrounds and
Yeah.
our business card things. There can be subtle little changes that make it look a little bit more relevant and apparent to today. And sometimes you can do that without changing the entire logo, or it is just a slight little brand refresh. Just like, hey, you got a new little haircut. You look refreshed and up to date now.
Yeah. So you want to pass the smell test. So today we have given y'all lots of questions to ask yourself about your brand to make sure that you can sniff out if you've been sleeping on a brand that's maybe a little sleepy and needs a little kick in the pants. We would love to be the team that does it for you. Again, we'd love to give you a free evaluation of your brand to see if maybe we can provide some support on what you're doing great. Maybe if you need some support other directions. Other reminder, March 15th through the 17th in Lufkin, Texas, we are doing a marketing and branding focused conference. It is right here. We're doing a shop tour at McWilliams and Son. You get content from me and from Emily and from great other people that are experts in the industry all around marketing. Learn together. You're going to hear from great contractors that are doing great things and great vendor partners. And so it's only $5.99. If you're a Lemon Seed conference, Lemon Seed client, don't forget you get one free ticket and one half price ticket. And so we have lots of good options, but it's only $5.99. Takes you a little bit to get to East Texas, but you would fly into Houston and then rent a car, drive here to Lufkin, and we would spoil you for 2 days.
I promise you, we'll give you some cool swag.
Yes.
You'll eat good food. We'll have great parties, but even more importantly, great content, great networking, great connections. It's the people that come, they say it's their favorite conference every single year.
And you know what? If you were on today's conference and email us at hello@lemonseedmarketing.com today and say you want to claim one of our half price tickets, maybe I can hook you up. So if you were on this webinar, want one of our half price tickets to our conference in March, email hello@lemonseedmarketing and just say, hey, I want one of those tickets. We would love to have you here in Lufkin. Join us for that. So again, thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. Go follow all of our social media channels and our podcast from the Yellow Chair. And until next time, keep sipping lemonade.
Bye.